And for more on the Green Pass plan of the government, we're joined by Ilana Rachel Daniel. She's a candidate and the English spokesperson for the Rappeh party, campaigning in the upcoming elections as Israel's new health ministry that also opposes the Green Pass system. So thanks for coming on. You may see that around the world there doesn't seem to be any safe way of opening the economy or the school system. And the only way that we see to do that safely is to open it to people who have been vaccinated. The new details coming from the health ministry that it's preventing 95% of sickness among people who are vaccinated and 99% of mortality among people vaccinated. What is your alternative plan to that?
I think that I think that there's any myriad of alternative ways to open up the economy. I think that what we're discussing is a well-known, historically risky technology that has zero long-term existing safety studies and does not even have FDA approval. So to move forward as if this is our only option is simply not backed up by science. There's a number of different ways that we could talk about that we haven't begun to discuss of prophylactic and acute treatments in order to safely open up the economy for everyone.
Well, the vaccine does have FDA approval, and there haven't been any significant...
No, it doesn't. It has FDA authorization, emergency authorization. It is not approved. All vaccines go through usually.
Yeah, but that authorization went over by many doctors and health officials that deemed it to be safe, and being treated on thousands and thousands of people, it hasn't shown any significant side effects, especially when you compare it to the amount of people who we can see with our own eyes who are dying or who are getting really ill with coronavirus. It seems like surely that must be the far better alternative than not being vaccinated because of some potential side effect that we can't really see in the data that we have.
I'm not sure that that's true that we don't really see, because I have not seen a real clear published data of any adverse reactions. If you look at the VAERS, which is used in the CDC in the United States, we see a list of more than 650 people who died and more than 1,000, maybe 500 who've had serious injuries. So we actually haven't seen here the data of what sort of adverse reactions happen. We have been recorded. We know that there's, outside of whatever people are turning to for medical attention, there's no follow-up. There's no list of side effects to look out for and who to call to report for them. So, it's not really based on solid material to be able to go ahead and create a second-class citizenry before our very eyes on the basis of wishful thinking.
Well, your party, you're campaigning as the alternative health ministry. That's also something that a lot of people may seem as problematic, that you're challenging like that a health authority of the government that employs dozens and dozens of doctors and health officials who have gone over all this information, and you essentially are saying, no, listen to us, we're replacing them in this campaign.
I don't know if it's as easy to say replacing. Science is a dynamic, living entity. You have to, it's not an ideology that you hold to. It's something that you have to learn and keep learning and change your implementation and policy accordingly on a daily basis. And because there's a few group of scientists saying one thing, we have to look at the others who have, honestly, the history of mRNA technology is really rather bumpy, and it's decades long, and there's a huge discussion. And I think the argument here is not, don't take this injection. The argument is purely a human rights one, which is we all get to choose. My bodily autonomy is the most essential of human rights, and I get to make that risk-benefit analysis. I get to see all the science before me, all the options of treatments, and then I get to choose what's best for me and for my children. And that's really the entirety of the argument, is not don't use this treatment and yes, use this one. It's let's look at it all, let's keep growing, and let's keep adding and enriching that knowledge.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And would you reevaluate your position, though, if you see in several more months' time that there's no adverse effects from the vaccine?
I would love to see the science really clearly. And again, vaccines take longer than a decade. So in a few months' time, we'll know more, but we won't know long-term safeties.
Okay.
But yes, we have to move along with the science. And again, Rappeh is the only person addressing is the only party addressing these issues, the freedoms of bodily autonomy, which ultimately is something that affects everyone.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for